Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Time to bring some focus to your favorite and not so favorite films. Cam here and welcome back to Cam in Focus. Alright, so I'm going to start off by saying that The Babadook is my favorite horror film. It's a fantastic showcase of how mental illness can manifest in terrifying ways, with fantastic performances and great direction to back it up. Now, I'm going to be talking some major spoilers here, so if you haven't seen The Babadook, go watch it and come back to this video for an in-depth discussion. This film is a masterful example of how you can do a lot with a little. It wisely chooses to focus more on deep atmosphere and the overall creep factor, rather than relying on cheap jump scares and typical horror tropes. To someone who doesn't really care much about horror, one might look at this and think of it as just another haunting or monster type of film. Big scary thing tormenting a family who's going through something and yada yada yada. But if you watch it and really focus, you'll notice that nothing paranormal actually happens. Things don't move on their own, no cheesy nightmare sequences, no exorcist coming by to tell the family that there's nothing he can do for them. There is a possession-like aspect, but that's more of a fantastical representation of the main character's mental distress, chipping away at her sanity until she finally cracks at the end. In short, The Babadook isn't real. The director, Jennifer Kent, forces us to dissect what we're looking at in order to determine for ourselves what the real story is. And that's one of my favorite things about the movie. The details aren't spoon-fed to you. We as the audience are forced to infer what's happening based on what we know about the characters and nothing else. So here's the main crux of the story. The mother, Amelia, wants to kill her son, Samuel. She's dealing with unresolved grief on top of severe depression and insomnia. She blames her son for her husband's death, and the Babadook is a metaphorical representation of her deteriorating mental state. As she descends further into madness, her true self and innermost desires begin to manifest in violent and terrifying ways. Throughout the film, we see sharp turns in Amelia's personality, going from timid, overworked mother to lashing out in cruel ways and much, much worse. We also see her lose periods of time, which is to be expected since she hasn't slept in months. But the film doesn't show this to us outright. We never see her wake up somewhere without knowing how she got there or anything like that. Instead, we're treated to scenes like this.
And mirror attachment. Clean and polished shower doors or mirrors for...
Though we don't see her move from that spot, the quick passage of time coupled with the sound and the sudden change in her facial expression is very telling. Probably the biggest example of this idea is the scene in the police station. Not only is she hallucinating that the Babadook is there, but there's also a quick cut to her hands showing how dirty they are. In the scene prior, we saw her try to burn the book, and for many viewers, that's what their brain will automatically jump to as to why her hands are dirty. But let me show you this scene.
Claire tells me you're a writer.
Oh, no, not really, not anymore.
What kind of writing did you do?
I wrote some articles for some magazines and did some kids stuff. I just need to get back into it, that's all.
It's very fast, but that right there plants the idea in our heads that she is the one who created the Mr. Babadook storybook, and she is the one who keeps recreating it after it's destroyed. Because that's not ash on her hands, it's graphite. She doesn't remember doing so due to her insomnia. The movie doesn't tell us that she created the book. We're left to fill in that blank on our own, but that's something that I truly adore. We're not told what she's really going through. We're not shown outright that there's more going on under the surface. We're given hints. We're shown stepping stones on which we can reach the answers if we just do some critical thinking. But let's take a moment now to talk about Mr. Babadook himself. We're never fully shown this thing. A common criticism of the film is that we never get a good look at the Babadook. But in my opinion, therein lies its charm and creep factor. Less is more. With a combination of fully practical effects, outstanding use of light and shadow, and the general tone of dread and uncertainty throughout the film, the few times we do see him are tense, chilling, and effective. Like this shot here. Or here. Notice how he almost moves like he's right out of a pop-up book, giving another small nod to the idea that Amelia herself was the one to create the book and by extension her visions of the creature. There's so much attention to detail and care given to each meticulously shot scene, and every scare shines when it happens. Another common criticism is that the boy, Samuel, is too annoying, but that's kind of the point. We're meant to feel for Amelia and what she's going through, and then as the story continues, we're shown the opposite side of the story with how mean she can be to him. This boy, who is easily frightened, is terrified of a monster, not knowing his mother was the one who created it, and that she is the monster and always has been. The Babadook is an innovative film with deliberate pacing and storytelling and a unique take on the topic of mental illness. Though it may not be everyone's cup of tea, still give it a shot. This isn't a monster movie or a haunting movie, it's a film about the debilitating effects of grief, anger, and resentment. The Babadook isn't real, it's just a metaphorical representation of the monster living within Amelia, and that monster is grief. Give it a watch and let me know what you think.
Sometimes I just want to smash your head against a brick wall until your fucking brains pop out.
You're not my mother.
What did you say?
I said you're not my mother!
I am your mother!
Well, that's all I got for you today. I really hope that you check out The Babadook if you haven't. I mean, it really is a great horror film. Just go into it thinking about what I said, that The Babadook isn't real. It's not really a monster movie in that sense. It's more of a thriller, I'd say, but yeah, The Babadook isn't real, so going into the movie with that knowledge kind of changes the viewing experience. So if you've seen it, let me know in the comments below what you thought. And don't forget to subscribe to Geek News Now and follow us on all forms of social media, links for everything below. Have a wonderful day, everybody.